Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia, and welcome to Recovery to Remission. My name's Linda. I'm a trauma recovery coach, and it's wonderful to be here with you this morning. Sorry I'm running late. I promise it was for a good cause. This morning I just want to share with you some information about being triggered, and sometimes it can happen right before we wake up, and it makes our day very challenging. Yesterday morning, I woke up out of, my alarm woke me up. I mean, how rude. But I woke up in the middle of having a nightmare of being pulled between two people. And when I woke up, I could literally feel that I was dissociated, that I wasn't connected to who I am, and I was deeply aware of what was happening on the brain level, as in it was really hard to focus. So that's when we know the prefrontal cortex isn't fully engaged as well. No executive functioning. So what I did was get up and do the trauma-informed movement. Now remember, when these things are happening at the neurobiological level, it's not something that we can control. It happens unconsciously. It happens in a level of awareness that we're not even aware that it's happening. And if it's happening during our sleep, then it's our brain trying to process things that have happened and put them in an order. Because remember, they can't be stored away in the hippocampus until we have language and we have order. So when I did it took me half an hour of focusing on my breathing, doing the trauma-informed movement, to actually feel settled within myself. And I went, wow, this is amazing. And what I was aware of too is how much or how limited I was in my range of movements as well. So when we're triggered, the aftermath of it all also felt like the fog that you get after you've had an epileptic seizure. So what I want to do now is go in and look at the different parts of the brain that are involved in a seizure, because I couldn't believe how similar it was to, it's like this really brain, it's like a hangover without alcohol. It's a neurological hangover. And I was like, oh my goodness, I just know, because of the years of work I've done, that I'm going to need to sleep. Not because I'm tired, but because my brain is still getting everything back into place from being triggered. And so for you, how often do you realise that after being triggered, that your whole system needs a rest? Now, we wouldn't want to feel the full effects of being triggered, because it's electricity running through our body and I've felt it once, and it is so painful. And so I had work to do, so I went and did my work, and then I fell asleep. And it was like my whole head was just throbbing with this needing to have shut out from the world, just so it could process what had happened, and it could have time to let all the chemicals, so our adrenaline, our cortisol, get back into place again. So and it makes sense as well, because in order to do all of that, our whole sensory system needs to be on shutdown, so we're not receiving more data, okay? And because that's where we get all our information, is all the sensory input. So if we've got our eyes closed and falling asleep, then our body and brain are going to let everything fall back into place. So after I'd had a sleep, I was able to get up and just function normally and feel attached, etc., etc. So I want you to make a consideration for yourself that when you are triggered, that you begin to say, right, I know now that I have been triggered and that my body needs rest in order to process the information and the energy and all the chemical reactions that have happened in my body. And when I do have that rest, I'm going to be able to get up and process and do my day and focus on what I want to be done in a more healthy manner than if I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. If we continue to keep pushing through and forcing ourselves to focus and getting things done, then we run down our whole system. If you want more information about that, go and look up how we burn out our adrenal system and find out how it's connected into that side of things as well, because we don't want to do that. We want to live a healthy life, and we have to be willing to make adjustments so that our body and brain can get back on track and our inner GPS can continue to guide us through. Because one of the things that goes offline with all of this too is our inner awareness, our intuition, our empathy goes offline as well. There are a number of things that the prefrontal cortex is essential for, that if we don't take the time out, then we're not going to be able to have a functional life. We're actually going to send ourselves backwards. All right? No, we don't want to do that. Of course we don't, but we've got to be willing to make conscious choices. We've got to be willing to live with intent in our day-to-day lives and set a healthy foundation and ask ourselves, am I willing to do the work? As science progresses, they become very aware of how much we need to integrate ourselves into our day-to-day life. And even Bessel van der Kolk says one of the hardest challenges of complex PTSD is reality. And we have to be willing to step up to the plate and say, I want to integrate into my day-to-day life, because our brain and body are already soaked in the trauma. We don't need to go back over it. So don't sit in talk therapy for years and have no forward motion, okay? We want to be able to integrate it into our day-to-day life so that we can have forward motion into two things: developing a healthy foundation for our future life and developing healthy habits, all right? And the foundation helps us build into more productivity, not believing we've got to go out and save the world, all right? So rather than believing we've got to go out and save the world or we can't do anyone, we've got to be willing to say, I can save myself by doing these things and taking one step at a time. Later yesterday, I was triggered again, and I finally got to the belief that had been driving all of this new awareness, and we can do that. We need to be aware of the beliefs that are driving our behaviour. And the beliefs aren't logical, they are emotional, so we've got to be prepared to let the emotions come up as well. Seek a trauma therapist, seek a therapist, seek help, all right? Because we cannot do this on our own. I have people that I'm able to sit and just say, hey, this is what's happened, this is the belief that's come up, and we let the energy up and out, and it's interpersonal, and it has to be that way because the trauma happened in relationship with other people. If we don't do this with other people, then we continue to believe that we're on our own, which is what childhood trauma teaches us, that we're on our own. We are not on our own, and we are not designed to do life on our own. Okay? So reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. First port of call can always be the YouTube channel. Second port of call, or first, depending on which, can be group. And then reach out to a professional so that you get the assistance and the encouragement that you can do this. You can live a healthy life, you can regain healthy function, and your brain and body don't have to keep sabotaging you and taking you down roads that you don't need to go down. Have the most gorgeous day. Thank you for waiting for me today. I promise you it was for a good reason that I was late today. And I will see you again tomorrow. If you have any questions, always feel welcome to reach out and ask the questions, because with language, we can conquer mountains. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Blessings and dreams.